against this bill. 214 ayes overall, but the politics around this continues. There are those within the opposition who back in 2010 rejected, firmly, outrightly rejected any aspect of a quota within quota to try and drive a vertical wedge in what is a horizontal reservation as observed by the Honorable Supreme Court, that physical handicap, women, these are all horizontal reservations. Vertical reservations are with SC and ST. And at that time, those who rejected this OBC quota in a women's quota, today are asking for the same. That itself forms the bedrock of the debate. First up on the right stand tonight.
एक नया आत्मविश्वास पैदा करेगा। नारी शक्ति को एक विशेष सम्मान, देश के सभी राजनीतिक दलों की सकारात्मक सोच होना हमारे देश की नारी शक्ति को एक नई ऊर्जा देने वाला है।
ओबीसी हिंदुस्तान के 5% बजट को कंट्रोल कर रहा है। ओबीसी ऑफिस, प्रधानमंत्री हर रोज ओबीसी की बात करते हैं, ओबीसी प्राइड की बात करते हैं, मगर ओबीसी के लिए किया क्या?
I was shocked and shattered and shocked. Shattered and shocked. अरे भाई शॉक तो लगना ही था, जब पढ़ना ही नहीं पूरा तो शॉक ही लगेगा, और क्या होगा?
So, although there was an overwhelming support and everybody voted for it, there were a lot of dissenting voices, and some of those voices, surprisingly, did a volte-face from about 13 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. And today, earlier in the day, there were repeated press conferences, one of them by Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, who not only insisted on an OBC quota in the women's reservation or in the Nari Shakti bill, like Sonia Gandhi ji also said, although she had rejected it outright back in 2010. He also further went on to once again list a statistic that was rubbished by the government based on facts. Now, what he said is a statistic that shocked him. He said 3 out of 90 odd secretaries in the government are OBCs, and called it an insult to the community, and said they themselves, these secretaries, they especially have only 5% of the government's budget to disburse with or to try and do something with in terms of put into effect. But BJP President JP Nadda had already countered Rahul Gandhi, saying how many OBC secretaries were there under the UPA rule between 2004 to 2014, and he further reminded the Congress that reservations were brought in 1996 and the current batch of secretaries are from 1992 or before. उस वक्त तो आरक्षण था ही नहीं. So how is it that this basic statistic has escaped? Or is the opposition just aiming to rabble-rouse? Or somewhere has the Congress now finally come on board this entire caste census narrative that has been mooted by Nitish Kumar of the JDU? Now, back in 2010, let's try and understand what happened, the history. In 2010, the Congress-led UPA government actually rolled out the OBC quota in the women's reservation bill. M. Veerappa Moily, then Union Law Minister, had given several reasons for not providing reservations for OBC in the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, as it is called now. At that time, it was a women's quota bill. National level data on OBCs is not available, is what he said. Difficult to determine who qualifies as OBC. Constitution lacks provisions for OBC quota in politics. Outdated census on OBCs is hindering accurate classification, and potential legal challenges if OBC quota was actually added. The JPC report examining the 1996 Women's Reservation Bill had recommended that the reservation be provided to women of OBCs once the constitution was amended to allow for reservation for OBCs. It also recommended that reservation be extended to the Rajya Sabha and the legislative councils. Neither of these recommendations were incorporated in the 2010 bill or even in the latest one. The Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, currently does not provide for reservation for OBCs in the Lok Sabha and in the Vidhan Sabhas. Here's what Geeta Mukherjee-led committee in 1996 had said. quota for SC/ST is permissible under the constitution. No provision for OBC reservation. No provision for OBC reservation in the constitution. Extend the quota to OBC women at the appropriate time when the required provisions have been made. Sub-quota for OBCs after the constitution permits. But the Congress's demands of including OBCs a complete 180-degree turn from their earlier stand. The demand is one-third quota for OBCs. It's not there in the 2010 bill. Quota for women, not there in the 2010 bill. OBC women, I mean. And quota within quota is also not there in the 2010 bill. So how does this volte-face, how is it justified? And when you detail out facts or make an argument, should you not go down to get to the bottom of the argument and get your research right? These are questions that remain, that have been asked. So, is this a bogus card that's been led by the opposition? Is it an opposition bogus card? Or is it the groundwork being set for a demand that could perhaps now start gathering volume in the build-up to Lok Sabha 2024? Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, with us, and we also have Sanjay Jha, political analyst who leans away from the BJP. Let's say that is something he's got absolute clarity about. So Sanjay Jha ji, please let me know. Namaste and Jai Hind to the lady and the gentleman. First up, congratulations
Namaste.
to all of us that something that's been pending for nearly 3 decades has finally seen the passage through Parliament, and that too with agreement across the corridor. And that is, I think, fantastic, because Shri Ganesh अच्छा हुआ है कि सबकी सहमति से, सर्वसम्मति से कोई अधिनियम पास हुआ है. So that's a good tiding. But Sanjay Jha, what's behind this entire OBC demand? What's the real game here?
Okay. Anand, good evening. It's always good to be on your program when we have a very mature, civilized conversation and nobody butts in to interrupt the other. And I'm sure we'll maintain that respect and protocol here today. You started your program by saying how the opposition, particularly the Congress, seems to have done a U-turn on certain aspects of the women's reservation bill. Now, let me tell you, politics and policy always is fluid. Let me give you 4 examples of the BJP's famous celebrated U-turn that will tell you that it is a fundamental right of a political party to review its position. You know that Narendra Modi mocked Manrega in Parliament. What did he do later? You are aware of this government, actually the BJP under Mr. Modi, as the Gujarat Chief Minister, did not even support GST, eventually implemented that. The same with the Aadhaar. They were worried about Aadhaar. Today, Aadhaar is considered to be one of the cornerstones of the identity that is given to citizens of this country. The same with direct benefits transfer. So the Congress and the opposition is absolutely within its fundamental rights. It's a very legitimate claim that you need to give the OBCs a fair representation. Now, here is the problem. And I just need to make one mention before we go on. I do believe, Anand, that today as a citizen of this country, I'm terribly ashamed of what a BJP member of parliament said to Mr. Danish Ali. And I think this is something that at some point needs to be discussed, because when we talk of OBCs and minorities, this government has clearly got a very hostile attitude. Now, coming back to the women's reservation bill, the truth is this, Anand, that end of day, when you are making a historic decision and all parties supported it, you know that the Congress constructed the architecture of this bill in 2010, and I will agree that the BJP backed the bill. The truth of the matter is you need to understand that the caste census has not been done for a very long time. And here is the point, that end of day, if the OBC population is not known in this country, how will you give around 50% of the population which is considered to be OBC a fair right of representation, whether it's in government or in any other walk of life? Rahul Gandhi's point is very valid. He says, and I think he represents a large section of the opposition here today, because this is an ideological argument, that end of day, if the OBC data, and you're going by some old data which said it's 52%, speculation is it may be around 45%, we don't know. Therefore, do a caste census is important. And if you don't do that, you really don't know whether government policies, programs, and welfare expenditure has made a difference to their lives.
Right.
Even with
Thoda
OBC,
patience,
as
Sanju,
you
you let
heard
him
of the
speak.
Supreme Court verdict,
I'll give you your
there's a
time.
teeny layer.
I didn't even open my mouth.
No, I know.
What's
I can
wrong
see.
with you, Anand?
No. Sorry, Sanjay ji, just pause. Sorry, just
Take a
pause.
deep breath.
Sanjay ji, just
Yeah.
pause for 5 seconds. My apologies. I saw
I didn't
you.
even say anything.
No, you didn't say anything, but I could see you getting little restless.
Yeah,
so that's why.
I mean, I'm not even able to now, showcase
I meant
expression.
I meant it not as a
This is
jibe. I
ridiculous.
meant it as a request. That's all. That please understand. If my tone was errant, I apologize. But it's not to try and get anybody riled up. That was not the intent at all. Yes, Sanjay Jaji, please complete.
Yeah. Anand, 30 seconds, and I started this program by saying we should learn to respect each other. I mean, that's the basic foundation of any conversation. And I want to publicly credit you that every time I have gone on this face-off, you have been fair and you have been extremely impartial. So I really want to appreciate that. Now, here is a point I wish to make, Anand.
Ji.
Bottom line, there is a long way to go. And I'm not even going to comment on the hypocrisy of the BJP in bringing a bill that cannot be implemented till 2029 or afterwards.
Right.
I mean, that is something that I want to
So
debate.
can we leave that to the next part, the second part of this face-off? Because Sanju Verma ji, some questions that I would like to ask Mr. Sanjay Jha, but after your rebuttal. Yes, Sanju Verma.
Okay. Anand, now that Sanjay Jha has said it, मेरा तो obligation भी बनता है, but I've said this to you on umpteen occasions. Yes, you conduct very impartial and fair debates, and I expect the debate today to be one as well. And even anchor should not get riled if the BJP is making expressions which you don't like. मैं तो आजकल मुंह बिना खोले ही लोग खफा हो जाते हैं कि पता नहीं अभी ये क्या बोलने वाली है.
Point noted.
Okay.
आगे चलिए.
Okay. Now let me I will first tell you, I will respond to Sanjay Jha's allegations or his feedback as I deem fit. But I first have to say this. Many congratulations to everybody out there, because when Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the 128th Women Reservation Bill has become a reality and come to fruition because of the contribution of all 140 crore Indians, and not merely the women but even the men deserve equal credit. Second point, वो एक famous कहावत है, नारी तो माँ अस्ति, नारी तो कन्या अस्ति, नारी तो भागिनी अस्ति. Basically meaning कि नारी तो माँ भी है, नारी तो बेटी भी है, नारी तो बहन भी है, नारी तो सब कुछ है. And if somebody has actually translated this into action on the ground, it is none other than Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So I say hats off to Narendra Modi for converting ideas into action, because I will just say this to you, Anand. I always say that an idea is only as good as it is, as its execution. An idea is only as great as its implementation. You can have flaky ideas and castles that you can build in the air, but if you're not able to consummate them and transform them into actionable ideas on the ground, फिर आप कुछ भी करें, आपको उसका क्रेडिट लेने का हक नहीं है. I will not repeat the fact that the Women Reservation Bill came up for discussion under the H.D. Devegowda government in 1996. It was tabled in 1998, 2002 and 2003 by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Or the fact that Sonia Gandhi led Manmohan Singh government passed it in the Rajya Sabha in 2010, but it could not see the light of the day because it failed to pass muster in the Lok Sabha. These facts are known. The reason I say Modi government deserves credit is because, Anand, the political dispensation of the day, cutting across political ideologies and affiliations. Political dispensation का काम क्या होता है? To bring forth and forge a consensus. And let us be very clear, there is no love lost between the opposition and Prime Minister Modi, and the a lack of effort is from the opposition's end, not from Prime Minister Modi's end. And despite that, 454 versus 2. That was the tally in the Lok Sabha. 454 people voted in favor of the bill, which is 83.6% of the members present and voting. And I was taken by surprise that Rajya Sabha में तो और भी कमाल हो गया. 215 वर्सेस 0।
Yeah.
215 लोगों ने राज्यसभा में विमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल के लिए विदाउट एनी इफ्स और बट्स, they unequivocally, unconditionally, without any caveats, they said, "Ha, we are with the government on this." So I will also give credit to the opposition. I will not be, stingy today. I will be generous. I will be gracious. But Anand, now please bear with me for 40 seconds. There are some facts which your audience needs to know, because these facts have been stated by Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, the National President of BJP, JP Nadda. But as the national spokesperson, it is my duty to reinforce some home truths. And the home truths are these. Pehle to, when you keep saying BJP does not support women, BJP is a very anti-women party. Listen, I'm as modern as they come, and I say this with all humility and without trying to put up a charade. Nobody in the BJP has told me, Sanju Verma, dress up like this or don't dress up like this, eat this or don't eat this, say this or don't say this, behave like this or don't behave like this. Point number one. Point number two, Draupadi Murmu, coming from one of the most backward districts of Odisha and one of the most backward tribal communities in the country, the Santhal tribe, I say hats off to Narendra Modi's vision for ensuring that a tribal woman becomes India's first woman president. And who did we see the opposition putting up against her? They put up a Yashwant Sinha, whose only job today is to troll Narendra Modi 24/7. I'm appalled to think this man was once the finance minister of the country. Please bear with me now. 30 seconds more, because you gave a lengthy intervention to Sanjay Jha. I will not take more than 30 seconds. As JP Nadda said, because many may not have had the good fortune to listen to his speech, but many people watch Anand Narasimhan's show. अरे आपके तो जितने पूरे MP नहीं है, उससे ज्यादा तो हमारे OBC MP हैं. The total number of MPs that the Congress has in the Lok Sabha is 52. We have 85 MPs representing 29% of our total strength in the Lok Sabha. We have 40 MLCs representing, we have 40% MLCs from the OBC community. We have 27% of our MLAs who are from the OBC community. We actually, in numbers, we have 36 OBC, 36% OBC representation in the union cabinet with 29 OBC ministers. तो मैं यही कहूंगी, आप जब बीजेपी या मोदी सरकार के खिलाफ लांछन लगाते हैं, थोड़ा प्लीज इंट्रोस्पेक्ट. Last 10 seconds, please.
Yeah.
I think the biggest contribution of the Modi government to the betterment of OBC community, Anand, was the 127th Amendment Bill passed in 2021, where we not only gave constitutional status to the National Commission of Backward Classes, but in the true spirit of federalism, we said that not the central government, not a presidential approval, state governments have the power now to drop an OBC list as they deem fit.
Correct. Now,
किस सरकार ने ये किया है?
Now, so you've done a lot, but my point to both Sanjay Jha and also to Sanju Verma, as I come across to you, Sanjay Jha, is that in 2010, Sonia Gandhi is on record speaking with CNN News 18 and some other media platforms also, saying to those who are asking such questions, the questions are what? OBC quota for women, OBC quota for or Muslim quota for women. I would say this, who is going to prevent you from giving seats to Muslim women, OBC women, a seat in 33%? Who is going to prevent them from doing it? This was the attitude and this was the answer. Now, that time, that was the answer of Sonia Gandhi. Today, that's the position that's being taken by BJP, JP Nadda and the rest of the Modi Sarkar, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi. My question is, sir, when the 2011 census was coming out, at that time, why didn't anybody talk about caste census? At that time also, there were UPA allies who wanted a caste census. At that time also, OBCs were nearly more than 40% of the country's population. If they are 45 to 52% today, they were 40% then. That's one aspect. The other thing is, Sanjay Jha, if nearly 45 to 50% is OBC in our country, then 1 in 2 candidates by default will also be OBC, na sir? That's why we see such a huge representation in parliament right now of OBCs without a quota.
Right. Anand, valid question. Let me give you a short answer. The point that we cannot ignore is that you are talking about giving women representation who belong to the OBC category. At the end of the day, the biggest risk that one has is that eventually a lot of the people will give it to some relative, a wife, sister, or somebody in the family, and you will not get representation other than SC and ST for anybody from the backward communities which need to be there in parliament. Point number one. Point number two, I want to be very categorical here because a lot of statements have been made by the BJP spokesperson. You do not... Just a minute.
Okay. Please, I just want to park a question on your first part, so I'll come back to you. Sorry to interrupt you. Please complete. Ji.
Yeah. My simple point is that the Women's Reservation Bill is a step forward in women's empowerment, but ultimately you are judged by your actions. And I would like to tell the viewers of your very popular program that this is the same political party that humiliated and insulted the women wrestlers of India, begging for justice when they accused a BJP member of parliament of being a sexual predator. I mean, these are champion wrestlers of India, by the way. And nobody had any time to even talk to them. Definitely not the Prime Minister of India. We all know about Bilkis Banu. We all know about Hathras and Unnao and Katwa. So there is a long way to go here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not for a moment delude ourselves that by creating a bill, the issue of the abuse of women or the discrimination against
but for every but Sanjay ji, allow me an intervention, please. Sanjay ji, please. But my point is, sir, for every instance,
I'm just wrapping up. Just give me a minute. I'm wrapping up.
Okay, please.
And then I'll take you.
Okay, I'll allow him. Please let him wrap.
My larger point here is that the BJP practices double standards. They're using women as a vote constituency because if they meant it, Anand, you know it and I know it. Why are you waiting for delimitation commission and a new census?
See, one minute.
The opposition, 1 minute. The opposition
you can't continue.
The opposition
I'll allow you a rebuttal, Sanjay.
By the way, madam,
please bear with me.
kindly check how much time you spoke compared to mine.
Let's not make it acrimonious. To the lady and the gentleman, my humble request. Let's try. Yeah,
absolutely. Please. Absolutely. So Anand, I once again applaud you for maintaining your equanimity here. My last sentence and then I'll take your question. The Women's Reservation Bill should be implemented in the 2024 Lok Sabha election, making them wait for 5 years.
Sir, here is my request to you. So for every case that you want to highlight to put the government on the mat as far as atrocities being committed on women or injustice being committed, please understand in our Panchayati Raj system today, nearly 49 to 50% of the sarpanches are all women. And there is no sarpanch. There was an early on sarpanchpati syndrome and it may exist in certain cases, but that exists across castes and communities. So this proxy candidature that you said, what stops an OBC male from putting a OBC proxy there even if there is an OBC women's quota? That is something the system will clean itself. The other thing, Sanjay Jaji, you are an educated person and you read. So let me ask you this. Can you create delimitation is on the basis of population? Delimitation exercise has to be, it's mandated as per law that whenever there is census, immediately after that you have to conduct a delimitation exercise. What does this act say? This act is not referring to decadal census. This act is saying the next census. 2021 census is not out. Immediately after this, if there is a census after Lok Sabha 2024, a census is commissioned and today you can do it and it is going to be faster than what it was in the past. You have a possibility that by 2027-28, the delimitation exercise is completed and by Lok Sabha 2029, we will have the allocation of seats as per the correct quota. The other thing, sir, there's a Supreme Court judgment. Sanjuji, please bear with me. I am taking the time here. There's a Supreme Court judgment, Kumar Daria versus Rajasthan Public Service Commission and ORS. A 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court has explained the difference between horizontal and vertical reservation. It was stated that special reservations in favor of those who are physically handicapped and women, etc. under Article 16(1) or 15(3) are horizontal reservations, whereas a vertical reservation is made in the favor of a backward class under Article 16(4). And it is very clear that as far as electoral process is concerned, the reservation for women, if it comes into play, it's a horizontal reservation. Reservation for SC/STs is a vertical reservation. One cannot supersede or cut with the other unless there is a constitutional amendment and a provision for the same. That's why, sir, in our current electoral system, there is no OBC quota at all overall. There is a general quota and an SC/ST. So if there is a horizontal reservation that comes into place, it can only be for general and the SC/ST. And any other extension now that has to happen post delimitation. Reason being, there will be more seats. The new seats will be allocated and nobody will feel shortchanged. Otherwise, you will have a case when somebody from your end, from within the India alliance or some proxies or some other aggrieved party will go to the court and procure a stay because the law will be deemed illegal in the eyes of the law. In the eyes of the court, it won't stand the test of legal scrutiny. That's the problem. So this is the clarity and this is the fact. So let's understand this fact and then appreciate why something is being done rather than just throw stones because we want to throw stones. Yes, Sanju Verma and then Sanjay Jha. Sanju Verma's turn and then Sanjay Jha. My apologies, I have taken extra time. We'll extend this debate as consideration and to make amends. Yes, Sanju Verma.
Yeah. I just want to say this. When Sanjay Jha sits here and, talks about how women are not being represented properly under the Modi government in the parliament or how the BJP is anti-women, they are not women-friendly. He's narrated some incidents. Each time you talk about a Manipur, you have to remember that when a minor was raped in Jodhpur, Rahul Gandhi ke muh mein dahi jam gaya. When a minor was raped in Karoli in Rajasthan where the Congress is in power, Priyanka Vadra, who went to Hathras saying, "Ladki hu, lad sakti hu," Priyanka Vadra ke muh mein dahi jam gaya. When in 2022, a minor, specially abled girl was gang raped in Alwar, Ashok Gehlot, the Congress chief minister said, "ये तो लड़की ने ऐसे ही इल्जाम लगा दिया, रेप तो हुआ ही नहीं है." And Priyanka Vadra was holidaying at the Ranthambore National Park. Ranthambore National Park is how far from Alwar? 221 kilometers. But Priyanka Vadra, continuing with her holiday with gay abandon, did not even bother to express basic regret. When you talk about the BJP being anti-friendly, let me remind you, your own Congress MLA from Rajasthan, Divya Maderna, the daughter of Mahipal Maderna, said Rajasthan में तो इतनी बुरी हालत है महिलाओं की, despite me being a legislator of the ruling party, even I don't feel safe. Your own woman MLA in a Congress-ruled state of Rajasthan says she does not feel safe because your Congress party is in power. So I would request you, when you condemn crimes, also condemn how two BJP women were disrobed and paraded naked in Kaliaganj, in Malda and in Howrah, and when a BJP minor worker was gang raped in Uttar Dinajpur, Mamata Banerjee said, "Arey, ye to because she's from the marginalized community, na BJP wants to play vote bank politics." Mamata Banerjee is today your ally. Your Rahul Gandhi ke muh mein tab bhi dahi jam gaya tha. 30 seconds more and I don't want any more time. When you talk about women empowerment, 11.5 crore toilets under Swachh Bharat Yojana to benefit women, thanks to Narendra Modi. 71% of all Jan Dhan Yojana schemes, the beneficiaries are women, thanks to Narendra Modi. 47% of all startups and unicorns either have a woman board member or are founded by women or co-founded by women, thanks to whom? Narendra Modi, for creating that ecosystem. When we talk of Mudra Yojana, 76% of the 23.5 lakh crore disbursed till now, the beneficiaries are who? Women. Thanks to whom? Narendra Modi. And last but not the least, Sanjay Jha, when you talk of women empowerment, while there are 84 members in the Congress Working Committee, the regular members are 39. For the longest time, only Ambika Soni was the outsider who was a part of the CWC. You had Sonia Gandhi and Priyanka Vadra. Only very recently you included Kumari Sailaja. So if I take Ambika Soni as being the only non-Gandhi dynast as one amongst the 39, it means only 2.56% of your CWC was represented by a woman who is not a Gandhi.
See, Sanju Verma ji, I'll tell you, Sanju Verma ji, I'll tell you what. Every party has its own way of looking at it. In the opposition also, you have parties like the Trinamool and some of the other parties which have actively encouraged, and it's part of their constitution. The BJP adopted this resolution in 2006, 2007, and gradually you have increasing representation across all the Sangatans. Minimum 30 to 33% is something which is mentioned. My larger question is that are we arguing for the sake of arguing, Sanjay Jha, or do you believe that this caste census is actually necessary? Because you see the statistic, BJP or otherwise, there is a minimum 30 to 35% representation of OBCs in parliament, in Vidhan Sabhas, cutting across political corridor. Because if your संख्या आपकी ज़्यादा है तो आप ही के मन से कोई वो कैंडिडेट निकलेगा ना. आप किसी हर कंट्री जो नहीं जाती वही जाती है, एंड जाति के बेसिस पे ही सब लोग सब समीकरण होते हैं. You know that very well. Final comment, sir.
Yeah, Anand, very valid questions again, but a quick short repost to the BJP spokesperson. The Congress has had a woman prime minister for several years.
And we made Draupadi Murmu a tribal, the first tribal woman
Sanjay ji, please, let's not do it towards the end of the debate. May I request you, please? You have made this point, ma'am. You have made this point, ma'am.
Sanjay Jha, stop making reckless allegations.
Let him make his point
Stop
about...
making reckless allegations.
Sanju ji, please. Sanju ji, please yield. 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 You made the point about Draupadi Murmu ji. You made the point. He has the right to make he has the right. I interrupted him twice during his intervention. I did not interrupt you. Now, are we going to nitpick like this through the debate? Let's not for the final minute disrupt what we have done constructively for 25 minutes, ma'am. My request, humble request.
He's been making reckless allegations.
My request, ma'am. He has his right as an opposing voice to make his point. You may agree, disagree with it. You have the right to rebut, but when I come to you, ma'am, if you want the right to rebuttal, I'll give you the right. Please, Sanju ji, please, we are wasting time, ma'am, please. Yes, Sanjay. We are wasting good debate time. I meant that. I'm not wasting either of us time. I meant good debating time. Yes, Sanjay Jha, please. You're saying first woman prime minister from the Congress party, first tribal prime minister from the BJP, president from the BJP. So everybody is doing equal amount of work and effort to push the cause for win. But my point is that what Sumitra Mahajan ji said, ये देने वाला लॉजिक क्या है? उनका हक बनता है. Women are 51% of the vote share today. Yes, Sanjay ji.
Derail my part of my last part. 2 points here. Why is the only political party in India reluctant to have the caste census the BJP? I'll tell you why. Because it does not suit their Hindutva politics. Because that will come to expose how the
Sanju ji, please.
Have not benefited because they have exploited the OBC vote bank. They have exploited even the lower caste vote bank in the caste structure, and they will be exposed.
Absolute rubbish.
Okay.
My second point, Anand, you are being highly over-optimistic to believe that the Delimitation Commission is going to be a smooth exercise. Please remember,
Congress not pass the women reservation bill? जवाब दो.
Tamil Nadu, Kerala.
Prime Minister Modi ने करके दिखाया. Prime Minister Modi ने करके दिखाया.
Now,
Why could Sonia Gandhi
30 minutes we had a fantastic conversation. 30 minutes we had a fantastic conversation. I'd like to end on a pleasant note. Would like to end on a pleasant note. Let us not please outshout each other. Let's not please do that.
Please
Let's not please do that. No. Sanju ji, please. Sanju ji, this is not fair. Sanju ji, please. Sanju ji, please. Okay, now I have to wind up on that note. I do not want it to end up acrimonious. For 29-30 minutes, we had a fantastic debate. On that note, to the lady and the gentleman, thank you very much. Before we take a break, we've got a big update coming. Big update coming through from Jammu and Kashmir. He's out after 4 years. Mirwaiz Farooq backs Prime Minister Narendra Modi on "This is not an era of war" stand. Referring to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's words against the backdrop of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Mirwaiz said, "We've been called separatists, anti-national and peace disruptors. However, we have no personal benefits to gain from this." He said, "We only represent the interests and aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and seek a peaceful resolution to the issues." Mirwaiz also called for the return of Kashmiri Pandits. He said, "We believe in peaceful coexistence between communities and nations, between the strong and the weak, between the majority and the minority." Mirwaiz claims he always advocated the return of Kashmiri Pandits and disapproved of making this human issue a political one. Big statement coming there from Mirwaiz. Now remember, Mirwaiz Farooq has been under pressure for Sometimes what many thought was his moderate stand, oftentimes it was reported that he was making a lot of statements under duress. He's coming out after 4 years. Is he going to try and once again, what tune is he going to sing? We'll have to wait and watch. So far, it looks optimistic, but beyond this, what's his position and what's the stance? We'll have to wait and watch. This is Naya Jammu and Kashmir. The mood of the people on ground is far more vocal. Will Mirwaiz Farooq, who's lost his father to extremism, will he turn around and change and perhaps sing a different tune now that he can speak freely? We'll have to wait and watch. Short break. When we are back, it's the Canada K Prem that comes to the fore yet again. Is Justin Trudeau's credibility really credible? Stay with us.
So it's basically, you can say, the iPhone 14 Pro with dynamic island. That's what the iPhone 15 is all about. And this is the A16 Bionic chip, A16. This is the A17 Pro. Now, this is a new chipset and this is very powerful. A17 Pro chipset on both this and the 15 Pro Max. You can convert the iPhone 15 Pro series into a gaming console. You can play AAA titles. That's cool. You can just plug into your phone to a monitor and along with a gamepad, and you can game like a pro. That's really interesting. So this is the titanium. This is the titanium range. As you can see, there are other color options as well. I'll just take you through the iPhone 15. Here's the pink, and this is the lighter shade of the new titanium finish. And there is another interesting color over here. This one. So if you come to the Apple Socket store, you can touch all the iPhones and you can actually get to experience all the phones. You can check out all the colors and all accessory range as well. And talking about the iPhone 14, there is a 14 series phones as well. Yes, just for comparisons, if you want to compare and see that which one makes more sense. So this was the new iPhone 15 Pro range. You can of course come into any Apple store, Apple BK store, Apple Socket stores to check it out, or you can also go to the Reliance Digital or Chroma or other retail partners as well to check out the new iPhone 15 series. So from September 22nd, that is today, the sales have started, and of course you can just buy the same product online as well. You may get some good discounts. If you're buying in store from any of the Apple store, there is an HDFC card discount of ₹5,000 that you can get.
First time for everyone. That's why we don't know because you have to have an employee to serve you. Make a mistake. Don't worry about it. First time for everyone.
काफ़ी अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था मेरा। मैंने सुबह से वेट किया यहाँ पे, क्यों में मैं खड़ा था। कोई करीबी 4 बजे से मैं खड़ा हुआ हूँ, तब जाके मेरे को मिला ऐसा। बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था एप्पल की तरफ से।
अच्छा, क्या खास बातें इसमें आपको लगी अच्छी लगी? ऑल प्रीवियस वर्जन भी थे अपने आईफोन 15 के, क्या खास बातें लगी जिससे आप अट्रैक्ट हुआ इसमें?
सर अट्रैक्ट की तो कोई बात नहीं है, मेरे को है ही कि अंदर से कि मेरे को लेना ही है। हरदम मैंने टॉप फ़ोन रखे हैं, 13 था, 13 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास था, 14 प्रो मैक्स भी मेरे पास है। अब 15 आया तो मुझे था कि 15 प्रो मैक्स ही लेना है, और वो भी सबसे पहले लेना है। जी सर।
4 बजे से आप खड़े, कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी कि
हाँ बिल्कुल सर, मैंने कल रात से प्लानिंग कर ली थी। सुबह
There are credible reasons to believe that agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. And we call upon the government of India to engage with us to move forward on getting to the truth of this matter.
The larger issues of terrorism, and not just terrorism, but also the fact that it is being funded and supported, and we know this for some time from our western neighbor Pakistan. But the issue of safe havens and places to operate is being provided abroad, including in Canada.
Back on with this question, ladies and gentlemen, from credible allegations to credible reasons, is Justin Trudeau's credibility really credible? Now, top government sources are revealing how the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, at several instances, including the G20 summit, actually asked Canada to cooperate with India. NSA Doval and his counterpart always discussed issues of both nations, especially terrorism, many times. The NSA gave a list of wanted and also a list of letter rogatories from various agencies and state police to his Canadian counterpart. NSA Doval very clearly and categorically told his counterpart about the troublemakers and terrorists operating from Canada on Canadian soil, and also shared intelligence and intercepts time to time, including locations of these people. On the other hand, his Canadian counterpart also raised issues of Indian involvement, but NSA Ajit Doval asked the Canadian NSA for evidences and FIRs of the charges made. Sources say that there was assurance given by Bharat that if the perpetrators are from India and they are in India, it's a matter of deep concern for us and action will be taken. But the Canadian NSA never came back with any evidence on the claims and blames. India has said that it's ready to investigate Canada's charges if credible inputs are given, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, intel sources also reveal an alleged Pakistani nexus or link to Justin Trudeau. Trudeau allegedly is receiving funds from a very dubious source, a Canadian of Pakistani origin. Funds are reportedly received through fraudulent means because this money itself is coming from dubious methods and means. Trudeau is accused of favoring a particular nation or people coming from a particular nation. People with suspicious backgrounds are being favored and even being given seats and political favors. So the Indo-Canadians there are feeling that there is a lot of bonhomie or a lot of special attention that's given to Canadians from Pakistan, and these people have nefarious connections, and the funds that are coming in, which are being politically fed into the Liberals, are also dubious. Former Ambassador Rajiv Dograji is with us. Ramneek Maan, activist, and Wyatt Klepu, senior correspondent for Nat Telegraph, is also with us. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good evening. Namaste. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, credible allegations, credible reasons. Now, how much of credibility do these words have?
Well, within Canada, his credibility is sinking because the latest polls suggest he has only 31% approval rating. Within Canada, people are now beginning to doubt whether his statement in the parliament had any basis at all, because he has not come up with any evidence which he says or alleges, to use his term, that he's shared with his allies in America, UK, France, Australia and other countries. US is the only one which has come up repeatedly to support him, but that is out of being partners in crime, because US and Canada have been associated in sponsoring, supporting and financing Khalistani terrorists. So it's not a surprise that US feels obliged to favor a partner like this. But the larger question is the revelations that you have just made regarding the source of financing for Mr. Trudeau. Is it not a fit case for Financial Action Task Force to investigate Canadian operations of terrorists which are widespread, and in particular Mr. Trudeau's role in it? So I think the next step for us as a country and as people of that country to take is to approach Financial Action Task Force and ask them to investigate. You know, there are simple things which shock you. The Minister for Immigration and Citizenship says one day that Mr. Niger was given Canadian citizenship on 2015. Then one of his officers must have told him that, look, there was an Interpol alert before that, so we have to change that date. Next day, he tweets, sorry. I mean, he doesn't even say sorry. He says, oh, forget about that 2015 date. Actually, he was given citizenship in 2007. So they are misleading their own people. They are misleading the world, and they are confirming to people at large that, look, Canada cannot be trusted. But I must share one apprehension with you, which has been troubling me over the last few days, that we have over 200,000 young students in Canada. Now, if Trudeau keeps on inciting people, the right wing or the extremist elements, then they can be put to harm. And they have done nothing against Canada or Trudeau in particular or anyone in the world. So he is really upping the danger ante.
You make a fair point, Rajiv Dograji, but the fact is that these students are also perhaps a lifeline, or they bring in a contribute a lot to the Canadian economy. Education is a big source to contribute to their GDP, so they can ill afford that because they are already bleeding themselves dry by trying to divert monies towards Ukraine. So that's one problem. The other interesting point that Tara Kartaji has also noted, and I'm going to bring that to your attention, to the panelists' attention as I go across to Wyatt Claypool before bringing in Ramneek Mann. She says that all these Khalistani activities have happened in the Five Eyes nations. So this entire Five Eyes grouping, most of the recent issues that are happening are in these nations itself. So is that a coincidence, or should we read a little more into it? Wyatt.
Well, the funny thing with Canada is it's kind of always tried to portray itself, especially under Justin Trudeau. Like, it was far better under Harper, but under Justin Trudeau, we're supposed to be the tolerant and nice country. We don't support bigotry of any kind. But Justin Trudeau has translated that into basically we let any sort of people from any sort of extremist group just hang out here and basically make this their base of operations. What I find really funny is just how people are sort of on the international stage finding out just now just how sort of duplicitous and weaselly Justin Trudeau is, in the sense that he's the type of guy in his own country, in Canada, who calls all of his political opponents racist, bigots, throws accusations at them that make no sense. He never substantiates it. And now he's finally being caught out when he goes and attacks an enemy like India, who will actually fight back hard and has the ability to counter message the liberals' lies. Where in Canada, usually they're going after singular individuals, ruining their lives. And I think this time with Modi and India, Justin Trudeau bit off way more than he can chew.
But is there more to it than meets the eye when an America turns around and says that India should investigate whatever credible reasons or credible allegations Canada raises or concerns Canada raises, while they stay quiet about an American citizen threatening Indo-Canadians on Canadian soil. Wyatt, what is Gurpat Panon? He's an American citizen. He's threatening Canadians.
Yeah, that was Mr. Najjar's lawyer. And the thing with America backing up Canada, I don't think that they're really backing us up. I think they're throwing some token words out there because probably the Trudeau government has been just harassing them all day long, yesterday and today, to basically say that they should at least make some soft words saying, well, if there is evidence, India should investigate it. I don't doubt that within a week's time, if there was no evidence, America's just going to drop it and just to completely sideline Canada. And then because, again, America has far bigger issues than Justin Trudeau's paranoia about potential security breaches by the Indian government.
Well, we got just news coming through, and then we'll go to Ramanik Mann after we take this interesting development that's happening. Our group editor security, Manoj Gupta, telling us that intel sources are confirming that Pakistan ISI-supported group is allegedly backing Justin Trudeau. This group has announced a rally in favor of Trudeau, and this is in Surrey on Saturday, that's tomorrow. Rahat Rai, an individual allegedly close to the ISI, and he teams and with teams of Pakistani visiting him very, very often. He is and staying at his place. Now, this rally is organized at Surrey Central SkyTrain station so that maximum people can join in. Sources have also said that a large number of people from outside Surrey are also expected to join. Sources are revealing that Trudeau is absolutely on the back foot right now at home and spreading rumors. And according to sources, Surrey ISI network currently is the strongest. So there's a lot of support that's being amped up by ISI and its proxies and encouraging Pakistani nationals or Canadian nationals of Pakistani origin to actually come there and try and put up a solidarity front with the Khalistanis. Ramanik Mann, how do you see these developments?
Oh, well, good evening, Anand. This is very interesting, the news you just brought in. Trudeau gets support from Pakistan. Pakistan is a country even Hebatullah Akhundzad is not prepared to take support from. So they've gone down to the levels or beyond the levels of Afghanistan per se, diplomatically speaking. Now, when we talk about the incident at hand, it is strange that Trudeau had to make such wild and absurd allegations at a time when India is at its peak diplomacy. You know, we just concluded the G20, a very successful one actually. So, looking at the partners of Canada, let's say G7 nations, Japan, UK, USA, Germany, France, Italy, they're not standing by Trudeau today. The Five Eyes country, Australia, UK, US, New Zealand, the other four are not standing like, you know, the gentleman, Mr. Claywood just said, that it's just a token sort of a word that the US has put in. But then again, need to realize what the Canadians have been up to all these years. They've been nurturing and they've been rearing these Khalistani snakes in their backyard. The WSO, World Sikh Organization, Khalistan Tiger Force, Khalistan Commando Force, Sikhs for Justice, Babar Khalsa International, the murderers, the wanted criminals, the gangsters and the designated terrorists, the jinke upar inam yafta mujrim, the ones who bear bounty on their head, have been, you know, given asylum in Canada. That is what Canada has been doing over these years, and the West has been toying with the idea of keeping the secessionist and separatist elements of various countries in their country. When Trudeau says that we are a country of democratic values, we have the rule of law, can you tell me who was punished for Kanishka bombing? Over 280 Canadians died in that bomb. No one was punished. Who killed Ripudaman Singh Malik? It was the ISI, because he actually was a former Khalistani who had aligned with India. Just days after he wrote a letter of appreciation for the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, he was killed, brutally killed. Who killed Karima Baloch? It was the ISI. She was a Baloch activist.
Yes.
So, when they talk about freedom of speech, he stood by the farmers' protest in India and he said that, you know, the Indian farmers should get all the support. But when it came to truckers' protest, he brought in emergency measures in Canada, by the way, the whole of which are yet to be revoked. So Canada is literally still in the state of emergency.
Right.
This is how, this man displays his hypocrisy. Now, going forward, India, as of today, is a vital nation for the West in Asia. There is no other country in Asia which can replace India. And Pakistan comes to the rescue. ISI comes to the rescue of Justin Trudeau. Is it not enough circumstantial evidence to prove that who has been behind these Khalistani elements and secessionist elements, the ones who try to break away India? They try to get in influencers like Rihanna, Mia Khalifa, and now Shubh. This is what they are trying to do, but they are failing badly. And Mr. Trudeau, like his father, is going to eventually fail and perish away. He's running a
Pierre Trudeau was the
government
Prime
with the
Minister
elbows of the
when the
Khalistani-
Kanishk bombings happened and nobody was caught at that time. Ramneek Maan, just quickly bringing some more information that we have and then we'll quick round of conversation before I have to wind up. CNN News 18 has accessed a report which will expose Canada's hypocrisy. In 2018, public report on the terrorist threats to Canada, which was taken down in 2019 due to domestic pressures. Here's what that report said. It says some continue to support Sikh extremist ideologies, Khalistan ideology. It's a 2018 public report on terror threats. Some individuals support Sikh Khalistan movement. Then the next point that came out in that, 1985 Air India bombing is the deadliest plot launched in Canada. In Canada, 2 key Sikh organizations remain listed as terror entities. Babar Khalsa and International Sikh Youth Federation associated with terror. These are the observations. Ramneek Maan, you just made a reference, but this 2018 report was released when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister.
Okay. Now I'll just briefly add to that. When the US comes out clear, and people in India who are opposed to the current dispensation in India and others who are against the government of India think of it as a victory. I would say when the US says that this should be investigated, yes, it should be investigated, and it should be investigated by the NIA. The NIA should land in Canada and should find out which all gangsters, murderers, thugs, and designated terrorists are being shielded by the Canadian government. Who are the drug cartels, the weapon cartels running in Canada, who have been behind the secessionist elements and the Khalistani elements? If they have to name the Canadian politicians from the Liberal Party or from the NDP, they should come out clear. Let Canada be transparent.
Before
Let
all of
Indian
that,
NIA go and investigate
before
these
all
crimes
of that, there is no police FIR. The cops don't even have the names of the suspects. Are you trying to say that your law and order system is so porous that gangsters, murderers, assassins can have a free run on Canadian soil and get away with it? That's the question. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I have to wind up on that note. With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Brass Tacks with Dhankhar right now. Stay with us. Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Dhankhar Jacob. Justin Trudeau is digging his heels in. Yesterday on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he spoke to the media and reiterated what he said on Monday, that there was credible allegations of Indian involvement in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But here's the catch. Neither on Monday nor yesterday did he give any indication whatsoever of any credible evidence to back these allegations, to back these claims. But Canadian media reports are seemingly suggesting that there are intercepts. Canadian intelligence has signal intercepts as well as other intelligence in which it seemingly suggests that there were diplomats in missions, Indian missions in Canada, who were talking about Nijjar's death in the days leading up to his killing. Now, if indeed that is true, that evidence needs to be not just presented to the Indian side, but also made available publicly, because when he chose to make the allegations, he decided to go to the floor of the parliament in Canada and make the allegations public. So if the evidence is there, then that evidence also needs to be put in the public domain. Despite this huge blowback and perhaps the biggest crisis diplomatically between Ottawa and New Delhi, there is still no evidence that's been put out in the public. Trudeau also said that he raised this issue personally with Prime Minister Modi when he met him at the G20. So, are those not credible? And is that why India has decided to ratchet up the ante and halt all visas for Canadians who are hoping to travel to India? The big question now is, can Trudeau come up with the evidence, or will he have to face the ignominy of a diplomatic climb down?
There are credible reasons to believe that agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. And we call upon the government of India to engage with us to move forward on getting to the truth of this matter.
The larger issues of terrorism. And not just terrorism, but also the fact that it is being funded and supported, and we know this for some time from our western neighbor Pakistan. But the issue of safe havens and places to operate is being provided abroad, including in Canada.
All right, so this is a massive diplomatic standoff. It's been going on for the better part of the last week. It started off on Monday, the standoff between Ottawa and New Delhi. It started off on Monday with Justin Trudeau going to the Canadian Parliament and publicly saying that they believe, the Canadian side, that there are credible allegations of potential links between Indian agents and the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, Canada followed that up by expelling the station head, the intelligence station head, in the Indian mission in Ottawa over the Nijjar killing. India, of course, reciprocated a day later by firing that person's equivalent here, the station head, the Canadian station head in New Delhi. Canada then updated its travel advisory. It was a health advisory, but it added an update to that health advisory just a day after the Prime Minister went up in Parliament and made those allegations. And then India responded in kind, reciprocated by putting up a new travel advisory advising Indian citizens to be cautious while traveling to Canada. Then you had Canada calling on India, again this is what Trudeau said yesterday at the sidelines of the UNGA, calling on India to cooperate in the murder probe and also to take the probe seriously. Now, India has suspended visa services temporarily for Canadians, ostensibly because of the threats faced by Indian diplomats in Canada. And because of that, they are not able to process the kind of numbers that they previously used to do. But the big question is, and this is really the moot point in this case, can Justin Trudeau come up with evidence, credible evidence, to back these very, very serious allegations he's made in public? Now, on the 18th of September, like I said, he stood up in Parliament and made this very, very stunning allegation that Canada believes there are credible allegations of Indian involvement in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The next day, the 19th, Trudeau, this is after India rejected these allegations and said it's absurd. Trudeau then climbed down a notch and said the intention was not to provoke